Sociology is a unique curriculum, a unique discipline in the sense that, unlike, say, a math course where once you understand certain principles, those principles don't change, society is always in ebb and flow. There's always a level of change in society. So part of my background is being able to adapt relatively quickly to significant social change. If something's going on in society that is substantial, my job is to make sure that I find a way to make it relevant to the class, because in many situations, students are interested in having dialogue about it, or at least learning more about it. When we had the situation in which COVID-19 caused the college to transfer to a completely online format, part of my responsibility was to make sure that those traditional face-to-face courses continued to be interactive. And what I mean by that is that in the classroom, it's very easy through the Socratic method or through a question response to be able to make sure that students are engaged, because I can always ask them a question, and typically I make that clear at the beginning of the semester during orientation that I communicate with all my students consistently. Well, in an online format, students have more of a capability of being able to hide behind the scene. So what I have to do is find ways to be able to meet them where they're at. And that's critically important, meeting the student where they're at. Or in a recording, or like in a live interaction between professor and the students, some students may not have the video on. And so you have a situation in which you really don't know if they're participating. You hope they are, but I can't read their body language without that video and things like that. So one of the ways to circumvent that is to be able to have some online information that is relatively reasonable to address. Like if you're in the class and you're involved in the class, it's something that you would probably know. For example, in society, most of the people understand what discrimination is. Most of the people understand what sexism or racism is. So if you ask a question around that, then at least you can incorporate the idea that the student is engaged in some capacity. And then you can sort of build on those things that are fundamental building blocks in general, but they afford you the opportunity to be able to, first of all, like I said, make sure they're engaged. But second of all, you can move off of that into things that are more salient and critical in the class. I also think that they enjoy utilizing new types of technology that they're familiar with. And that's why I incorporate some MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe material in there. The issue is making sure that I'm not using that material in a way in which a student who is unfamiliar with the MCU because they have no interest can excel in the class. And that's what's important, right? You don't have to understand the MCU in my class to be able to get an A in it, to do excellent, to do perfect, as far as we can measure perfection, but to get 100. But it just makes it a more enjoyable experience if you watch and or have familiarity with the MCU.